Hello, welcome to another episode of LinkedIn Lids Off. I have with me today a special friend of mine, Jacqueline Marks, who is who's really leading the charge for the next generation of kids into a more mindful education practice. I'll let her explain a little bit later. So why it's interesting to me though is that a bunch of people I've recently been introduced to, Vishen Lakiani from Mind Valley, who's basically disrupting the schooling system in Estonia, and they're basically letting him have free reign with his Mind Valley University techniques, and it's going to be amazing to see how the kids react to that, which is more mindful practices and just alternate teaching rather than the same churned out stuff that we've all been exposed to as we grew up. Another person I'd like to talk about is another buddy, Sammy Taggart, and he has started a charity called the Findlings, and it comes from like a true deep care of his own story, which was he was found in a shoebox in the Philippines, and luckily he was found crying as sort of a couple of hours old baby, and was relocated to Canada with his loving foster parents. But then he's sort of gone on to become a really successful musician. Now he's gone back. But what's interesting about what he's doing, he's not just throwing cash at this education, at this inadequacy over there. He's actually providing them with iPads and teaching them about entrepreneurship and music and fashion and stuff. So he's sort of looking at it from a different way as well. And then after hanging out with yourself for a few times, which is awesome, I'm really interested to know where you see the potential is for Australian kids and even kids around the world with more mindful practices in those developing years.
Big question.
Big question. This is Lids Off. This is how we roll.
Lids off. So the potential of where I see education going, I see us bringing a lot more into the social, emotional space. There's just so much with emotions that we're not understanding, and there's so much with like calming down students, especially there's more overwhelm and anxiety than ever before. And then even in teachers, I know from my own experience, we'll go into classrooms and there's so much expectations on teachers, and a lot of it is we're basically asking teachers to be parents now of children. And so there's a part where we've got to bring parents in, but there is a part that, schools are a great place where all students can come on that equal level to really learn some of the newest technology that's out, the newest learnings, but there's also things that have been in place for centuries that we're just actually realizing, mindfulness in a classroom actually has benefits. It actually does help students to calm themselves down and to better focus. So I see a lot more lessons in bringing that into the classroom. And yeah, I see technology as potential for helping that, but I see us really needing to be careful of not using that as something that we're replacing, but we need to use it as a tool and not as a replacement for real connection, real teaching, real interactions. So.
Amazing. Yeah, so also new to the frother concept and the transfer of energy. It's interesting to think about kids as they're growing up and their parents are obviously their number one frothers, or they should be, and then the teachers are essentially, and the other students, but the teachers really are the ones who are giving that sort of transfer of energy and inspiring the kids to be the best person they can be. So is there a frother that you would like to give a shout out to within the education space, or it can be anywhere?
Oh, I feel like I'll just have all these people who are like, why do you say me? Because there's so many people out there. Probably say one thing that's had the most impact on me is I worked with Life Skills last year, and they had a fantastic impact on students. And they work with schools, they work with communities, and the students, they really help bring in PDHB lessons into classrooms that specialise in bringing in the social emotional learning and tools just to help students better transition through their life. So I'd probably shout out to Life Skills, because it's great concept. It's a great way for schools to get started if they don't really know where to start. It's a good launching pad. So I'll probably start there, but I'm sure I'll be sharing a lot more along the way of some really great people, because it's constantly inspiring me how many people are stepping up and realizing, wow, this is a place to make an impact, and somewhere where if we're not going to do it now, then we are really going to see a big difference later on, and something that we probably will look back and thought we probably could have prevented that. We probably could have prevented a lot of escalation into drugs and alcohol, into the suicide rates and everything that's escalating. I feel like we really can start to build a better, stronger foundation for students children from a young age, to better set them up to live powerful, contributing lives.
Cool. And I think a lot of the guys out there on LinkedIn would have kids, young kids, and maybe they're thinking that the schooling system is a bit jammed. So is life skills somewhere that they could access themselves for their kids, or for resources for themselves?
Yeah, well, definitely. If your students, like if your children are in schools, if you're not homeschooling, then you can look up life skills, and you can introduce it into the school that your child is at. Another great, like even Headspace has got things coming out. There's Class Dojo that has different little videos on there that talks about like resilience. So there's a lot more coming out, but that's a great place to start. So
that's awesome. I think that's really powerful if you can teach your kids at the same time with programs that were originally for adults.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd just be awesome. I think there's a lot of value in that. Thanks for having a chat. It's pretty radical. I'm looking forward to doing some work with you in the future about how we can add a little bit more mindfulness into, I guess from my perspective, helping people out with their drinking. A lot of them have young kids. How can they be more mindful around their kids when they do drink? Because it's part of the culture, but also just, teaching them about how it should be used and how to respect it.
I was going to say, I really love that, because I know, like even as a teacher, but as parents, you can see it really impacts so much the way that you are around your children. And it's not just with alcohol, it's also just the words that you say to them, how you actually react. And I was just speaking to a friend before about even conflict resolution, like how you actually have a disagreement with someone, and then you can bring it back to more of a powerful way of resolving that issue, but without tearing each other down, because children and your children are like sponges, so they absorb so much, and really we want to be setting them up for as much success as we can. So acknowledging that they are like sponges and being more intentional with what we do, whether it's in the drinking space, whether it's how we talk, or whether it's even about how we talk about our emotions. We'll talk about how it's not really readily spoken as much in this culture in particular, but it needs to be, because our mental health, our physical health, it all relates. And the more we know we're there for each other, and we're all human beings that have emotions that range from happy to sad and everything in between, it's okay, and it should be encouraged. Awesome.
And where can someone connect with you if they like to hear more?
No.
No.
Kidding. I guess if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram. Jacqueline Marks _ is mine, and then I don't have a LinkedIn yet.
But you will.
But I will. So I will get Betty to link you up with that if you want to find me on my future LinkedIn.
Awesome. High five.
Thanks.
Ripping. Catch you later.